2025 didn't feel like a lie where you live. That's exactly why you believed it. Your city told you things were stabilizing, that prices were holding, that jobs were safe, that the worst was already behind us. Nothing looked broken. And that was the lie. Because real economic damage doesn't start with panic, it starts quietly, while everything still looks normal. In 2025, office vacancy rates in major U.S. cities moved past 20%. Several crossed 25%. A few were already pushing 30%. Not during a recession. Not during a crash. While streets still looked busy. 2025 wasn't the year things improved. It was the year the damage got locked in. Most people watched the wrong signals. They waited for headlines. They waited for crashes. They waited for fear. That's not how this works. Structural failure doesn't announce itself. It hides inside routine. Restaurants were still full. Flights were still booked. Homes were still selling. But sales volume told a different story. In many metro areas, transactions dropped 20 to 35% compared to just 2 years earlier. Prices didn't collapse. They froze. That's not strength. That's stress. In 2025, cities didn't solve their problems. They postponed them. More than $1.8 trillion in commercial real estate loans were pushed toward 2026. Loans written at 2.5 to 3% now facing refinancing above 7%. Not fixed, not resolved, just delayed. That delay felt like safety. It wasn't. It was borrowed time. Your city kept telling you the same story. That demand was strong. That prices were resilient. That growth was returning. But price stability doesn't mean health. It often means pressure being hidden. In 2025, new construction permits dropped between 15 and 25% across many regions. Projects didn't get canceled loudly. They quietly disappeared. Developers stopped starting things. Banks stopped extending generosity. In healthy markets, activity expands. In fragile markets, activity pauses. And 2025 was the year everything paused. People confused not getting worse with getting better. Those are not the same thing. In 2025, homeowners didn't feel pain yet. Renters didn't feel panic yet. Cities didn't feel collapse yet. But systems don't need panic to fail. They only need limits. And limits started showing up everywhere. City budgets assumed growth of 3 to 4%. Actual revenue growth came in closer to 1%. That gap doesn't feel dramatic at first. But compounded, it's fatal. Maintenance got deferred. Infrastructure upgrades got postponed. Hiring freezes replaced layoffs. Public sector job growth slowed to under 0.5% in many metro areas. That's how stress hides. Nothing breaks at once. Everything weakens together. And the most dangerous part is that weakening feels manageable. In 2025, households adapted instead of escaping. Mortgage payments consumed 35 to 45% of income for many buyers. Credit card balances hit record highs. Delinquencies began ticking up after sitting near historic lows. None of it felt like a crisis. It felt like adjustment. That adjustment wasn't resilience. It was accommodation. Cities relied on optimistic projections. Markets priced in perfect outcomes. Households assumed time would fix it. Each decision made sense on its own. Together they removed every buffer. That's how systems fail without ever triggering alarm. 2025 taught people the wrong lesson. It taught them that nothing was wrong. And that misunderstanding is exactly what makes 2026 dangerous. Because 2026 isn't about fear. It's about consequences. In 2025, systems could still delay decisions. In 2026, they can't. Refinancing doesn't wait forever. Budgets don't stretch endlessly. Cities can't pretend indefinitely. When property values reprice by 30 to 40%, tax revenue doesn't decline gently. It snaps. And when that happens, it won't arrive as a crash. It will arrive as constraint. Projects that don't get renewed. Jobs that don't get replaced. Services that quietly disappear. Permits take longer. Repairs get delayed. Transit runs less frequently, not because of incompetence, but because the margin is gone. This is already visible in dozens of U.S. cities. Not the ones dominating headlines, the ones that still feel normal. Mid-sized cities, fast-growing metros, boom towns from the last cycle. Places people moved to because they felt safe, because they felt affordable, because they felt insulated. Those cities expanded quickly, but resilience didn't expand with them. They rely on constant inflows, on stable employment, on cheap refinancing, on uninterrupted confidence. When any one of those weakens, the entire structure feels it. And in 2025, all of them weakened at the same time. That's the part most people missed. They thought safety meant stability, but safety was just delay. The illusion of calm kept people passive. It stopped them from adjusting early. People waited for confirmation. They waited for permission to worry. That permission never came. Because 2025 didn't break anything visibly. It just removed the margin for error. And here's the part most people still don't want to hear. 2025 didn't just mislead people. It trained them to wait. It taught households to stretch instead of exit. It taught cities to borrow instead of cut. It taught markets to assume rescue instead of reality. That conditioning matters. Because when systems finally move, they don't give people time to adjust. In past cycles, the warning came first. Layoffs, headlines, volatility. This time, the warning already passed without anyone reacting. That's why the next phase won't feel like a slowdown. It will feel like confusion. People will keep asking why things stopped working even though nothing happened. Why jobs disappeared without a recession headline. Why taxes rose even though prices didn't collapse. Why cities suddenly feel tighter, colder, less forgiving. The answer will be simple, but uncomfortable. The system already absorbed the shock. Quietly. In 2025, everything since then has been redistribution of pressure. From institutions to households. From balance sheets to daily life. By the time this becomes obvious, most options will already be gone. That's how slow collapses work. They don't trap you with chaos. They trap you with normality that quietly turns hostile. And the most dangerous moment is always the one where people still believe they have time. 2025 was the year that belief got installed. 2026 is when it gets tested. And most cities are far less prepared than they appear.